Hello, everyone. Welcome to Astrologer's Chat Room. And this is a new series from maybe a couple months ago. And each month, I want to invite different astrologers, especially to share their expertise in the astrology. And today, I'm so happy to have a Margaret here. Hi, Margaret. How are you?
Hello, Rod. So great to be here. Lovely to see you again.
Yes, I miss you so much. I still remember every time when I see you, I still remember we shared that wonderful time in the Azores, and then we get to know each other, and we talk about astrology. Especially, you really inspire me to be honest with the when we look at the chart, and also when we look with our audience with the kind of careful about with the maybe how vulnerable they could be, and with address some certain issue because some astrologer maybe didn't aware about nowadays people are very different, especially young generation. They see the world so different, and they are sensitive about certain things. For example, I mean, I may be off track a bit. I love political, but I will see some people will address something like a political correctness is kind of a rubbish things, and I was feel like somehow you are benefit with people who thinking in that way to be careful, address something, not to hurt other people. And that is a part of a political correctness. But maybe they see it in different way. That's it. But I mean, I'm curious, but I know we are good friends, so I know your background. But I think maybe some of my audience probably they are not familiar with you. So I would like to, I know your expertise, and I know your background is a psychotherapy, right? Or counseling.
Yes, I'm both a psychotherapist. I work a lot with couples and with individuals, and I'm also an astrologer. So I really started off as a psychological astrologer, and I studied many years ago at the CPA when Liz Green was there. Not Howard Susport, Charles Harvey was there. Sadly, Howard wasn't there anymore. But I studied with Melanie, with Lynn. So it was really a wonderful time at the CPA. It was really kind of, I suppose, part of the heyday. So there was a group of us that used to actually travel from Bristol. Once a month, we would go down together, about five of us. So we had our own little study group as well as going to the CPA. So that kind of fitted in with my background. I was originally a social worker, then I became a psychotherapist. So psychological astrology fitted perfectly. And then I became more interested in relationship astrology. So I guess a lot of my work is relationship astrology, but I still, of course, do individual readings as well and
Mm.
I do teach psychological astrology as well. So the
Oh
two kind of
yeah.
dovetail in pretty well.
I want to bring back a little bit earlier because I'm just curious. I always ask my friends that what get you into the astrology?
You know, Rod, it's such a great question. And I've said this before. I discovered a few years after I got into astrology that my aunt in Italy, my mother was Italian, and my aunt in Italy had been an astrologer all her life. And I didn't know that until I started getting into astrology, which was well over 30 years ago. And I just bought some books and I started. This is how old I am. It's pre-time of having computer programs.
Mm.
So the first one I got was on an old Amstrad that a friend of mine gave me. So finally I was able to draw up charts. But really what drew me was I was just interested in a tool that to me made so much sense in terms of understanding myself and other people. And then I had to learn how to draw up charts by hand, and I'm awful at maths, so that was a nightmare. So when I got my first Amstrad computer and I had a program, that was wonderful. But I I always wanted to know what makes people tick. Why do we
Mm.
do what we do? Who are we? How do we really, astrology to me, psychological astrology is just such an amazing tool to help us understand ourselves, basically.
Wow, and you mainly focused on the psychological astrology and the relationship. And I know you have your own teaching at this moment. So could you share with us where we can find the information and what you are offering in your school at this moment?
would love to. So just look up relationshipsandastrology.com and you will find all of our courses there. We've now got 3 levels. The first level 1 is actually a packaged recorded course, so anybody can buy it at any time and get the basics of relationship astrology. Level 2 is actually a live course. We've just finished the one for this year. We'll run another one next year. And now we're getting ready for level 3, which is really interesting because level 3 is a combination of all kinds of different topics, you know, looking at why we get so obsessive in certain relationships. Anne Wortley is going to look at her pinball work with relationships, timing of relationships. Rachel Lang, of course, wonderful at timing. So they're really specialist subjects. Now, I would suggest people need to have the basics in astrology to do it. So if you haven't got that, please do, you know, do our level 1 even course. That will be very helpful. But that's what's coming up. We're also very excited to launch a new course. This is with Carol Taylor and Jorge Lancinta from Portugal. We've got a level 2 psychological astrology course coming up, which is a new adventure. We've created a whole new curriculum. And it's really going to be very much discussion based and exploring things. It's really going to be about the psyche and astrology. So we'll have that up advertised on our website very, very soon. So if you're a therapist, if you're a healer, if you're just interested in knowing more about yourself and you've got the basics in astrology, we would love you to join this course.
Fantastic. I really miss my day, go back to study in CPA. Although I didn't register, but I keep attending the seminar. And that was kind of, you know, full of soul. Every time I come back from the seminar, you just have so many things to think and you want to try on all your chart and apply to your client or your friends. And I really love this style of the teaching and enjoy. Yeah, more and more people probably just read out and thinking, why? I can see this on the YouTube. I can see that on the no, I can see that on the what's that TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah, and why should I? But you know that kind of course would really can go deep and exchange the idea and the talking. And also I would like to announce that on the 6th of July, and it's our great pleasure to have Margaret come to share your expertise in the relationship of astrology with our students and attendees. Well, could you tell us a little bit more about that? What we can learn in this webinar?
Sure. This is a really interesting one because it's really about looking at what rather than who are we looking for in relationships. And, you know, we've all got that Disney idea, you know, there's that magical person out there for us and, you know, we've just got to find them. So we've got to search for them and find them rather than actually bringing the focus right back to ourselves and say, right now, where I'm at in my life, what am I really looking for? What part of me is trying to grow? Because relationships are all about growth. They hold a mirror to us, and we learn so much from relationships. We know from the good times and the tough times. And so this is really about helping to break down and look at what to look at in your chart. You know, the developmental stage you're at, where your planets, what the transits, the progressions, what are you looking for right now? Why do you want a relationship? What is the purpose of this relationship and how might it help you grow? So it's just switching around a little bit the framework because I've noticed even with psychotherapy clients, people come to me and say, oh, I failed, I can't find somebody. And the focus is always out there, you know, that person, those people. Don't you find it's like that search for what James Hollis called the search for the magical other?
I agree. I really resonate with what you say because there's a few experience for me is I really obsessed with someone, and that is kind of a try everything and still hanging there or stuck in there. And I still remember recently one of my good friend pointed out, it's about you. It's your growth, and doesn't matter it's success or not, and this relationship going on or not, but you're aware what you're looking for in your life. That is the enlightenment, and try to bring the focus back to you. And I really learned how to do that. And I just like, it makes me feel, wow, it's not just about I'm crazy about something, someone, but it's about how I'm, who I am, what I'm looking for in my life. And we all know relationship is there and we all want to be loved. We all want to be loved. So, that is nothing wrong to, to have a desire to looking for a so-called ideal partner or ideal relationship. But I really love this topic. When I first see your topic, you give me the topic, I say, wow, definitely we have to go have this one because what rather than who. Most of the time we are focused on who, why he don't love me, why she doesn't love me. But instead of that, it's what in my chart showing that. So do you mind to share with us a little bit, especially for the beginner? I think this series I'm dedicated to help the beginner to get into the chart and to share our love of astrology with them, to help them to also in love with astrology. So for a beginner, if they want to study or get some information from their chart about relationship, what do you suggest where they can focus to begin with?
I think that's a great question, Rod. And I always say to people, the two key planets really are always the moon and Mercury. The moon, because it's our emotional makeup. It's kind of the glasses, the lenses through which we experience emotions, express emotions, share emotions. It's also the moon is very connected to our attachment issues, our very, very early attachment issues, which inevitably get played out in relationships. I mean, that's really it's something we all do, but if we're aware of it, we can recognize it. So the moon is crucial because once we get behind closed doors with somebody in the privacy of the two of us or three of us or whoever the relationship is with, that's when our moon gets expressed. That's really, and we need to have that compatibility, that understanding. But unless we know our own moon, we can't express our needs because we don't know what we need. So it's back to the self. Mercury is crucial because it's all about communication. How do we process information? How do we, what are the filters through which we hear or don't hear things? And how do we express ourselves? And the biggest problems clients, couples bring to me in therapy is misunderstanding. We miss each other. I don't feel heard. I don't feel understood. The other person doesn't get me. That's Mercury. So I would say if you're a beginner, just start with really understanding your own moon sign and really understand your Mercury. And then start noticing with your friends, where is their moon? Where is their Mercury? And which friends do you feel more connected with?
Wow, so essential. And usually I think being overlooked because I agree as an astrologer, if I'm going to, people ask me, well, yeah, check your Venus. But that is with the life experience, and that is true because the huge, so most of the time, when we feel like we are not being appreciated, and that could be our attachment, or that could be the communication, and how you receive a message rather than what did they really do something there. And that is so important. And I really love this take about we focus on communication and focus on our attachment with someone. I really, to be honest, when I host a podcast, I really want to ask more, but you know what, not today. Why? Because I know you are going to bring us a much more during the workshop. And that is, I'm so looking forward because what rather than who, and with my understanding, please correct me if I make some mistake. I mean, we are tempted to in the relationship in search of the ideal another half, ideal partner or lover. Somehow we will notice we are keep falling into similar personality, or in another way, we probably feel bumped into similar challenge, no matter who is that one you are dealing with. And that is quite interesting, isn't it?
Well, it is. And also, just exactly what you said. Often we use the term the other half as if we're somehow split in two. The old Platonic concept of two, one being split in two, which has kind of followed us through the ages of like, my other half is out there. So I'm not a complete person. Whereas, you think of our chart, we are complete unto ourselves. All the planets revolve around the sun. So we need to develop our sun. We need to be whole people. Then the relationship is made up of two whole people rather than one person who feels like they're half and the other person is half. And, that could be a bit of a mess, really.
Hey, you really nail it. You really nail it because I know that concept that we split in half, so we are waiting for another half to make us complete. That sounds romantic, to be honest. That sounds really romantic. That sounds really romantic. I couldn't deny that, but it is true. It is true. Our journey, our whole journey of our life is trying to make us understand we are whole. We are the one. We are the one. So in the relationship, we can help each other. And that kind of sometimes when we apply the language another half, or I'm in search of a missing part of my life. Ooh. Well, in one way sounds romantic, in another way sounds miserable. I couldn't find another part. Oh.
Well, it also puts so much pressure on the other person to somehow fulfill us.
Well, that I think that's something because there is the expectation there, and that is like give some pressure. Like I don't want to do this part. I don't want to make myself whole. Please, you make me whole. And how
Yes,
is it ignore our own duty to be ourselves too.
absolutely. We don't take accountability then for ourselves.
How easy the life could be in that way, but I think that also causes a lot of a challenge. And also, yeah, with your experience, I mean, you are counseling, and with your big experience with astrology, so for our beginner to learning the astrology in the relationship, and what can really help them?
Well, of course, I'm going to say our level one course, because
Of
that really
course.
focuses entirely on us as individuals, what our needs are. So the
Mm.
feedback we've got from students on that course is they really found it very, very in depth and very intense. And they were quite surprised because I think they expected just something on the surface, but actually
Yeah.
every one of those classes is very intense. And the great thing is they can return to it and listen to it again and take notes and learn from it. But the focus is we have to start with ourselves as individuals.
Mm.
Everything starts with ourselves and ends with ourselves. In the middle, there's the connection, the sharing, but ultimately we return to ourselves. So that's really, I would suggest the level one course would be a good starting point.
Mm. I think that is not just a basic thing, but even it's a level one, but we understand ourselves. And even with conversation, very short conversation with you today, I think our audience probably already noticed that even the simple things with the moon, with the Mercury, and with how we change a different aspect to see it, perspective to see it, or we turn the focus rather than outside back to ourselves, and that will change the whole concept of the relationship. And even like when we say maybe just sometimes it's those maybe some interesting idea that we are not aware, like you when I mentioned about another half, and then that idea once it changed, whoa, life is very different. Thank you, Margaret.
Oh, a pleasure. And another thing to consider that often we don't consider is, often I'll get clients that say, oh, my needs aren't met in the relationship. The person isn't bringing this to the table. And sometimes I just turn it around gently and say, what are you bringing to the table? So for us to really consider what am I offering? Who am I in myself? And what am I bringing to this relationship? Because if we're both starting from that perspective, we're actually giving something rather than just looking to take. And it really shifts dynamics quite a bit.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you, Margaret. I mean, even just at least a very short conversation with you, I have a lot of things going to think when I finish this podcast, I was like, oh, have I ignored that? Yes, thank you so much, Margaret. And I'm really looking forward to join you at the 6th of July at 4 p.m. UK and Irish time for the what rather than who. And we are going to have a deep conversation about in a relationship what we need and what we looking for and what make us rather than I'm missing someone.
Thank you, Rod, for inviting me today, and thank you for inviting me to present on the 6th of July. And please do come along, everyone. Bring your questions, your thoughts. Hopefully, we'll have some really interesting discussions as well as the presentation.
And
So
also, yeah, sorry, I was just over talk to you. And also, if you feel you really not have a deep understanding about relationship in astrology, please join the relationship and astrology course. Even from the level 1, you will have a totally change your view.
absolutely, you're all very welcome. So thank you, Rod, so much. It's been so lovely to see you again, and I'll see you on July 6th.
Yeah, see you. Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.